Access to healthcare is a right that every citizen of the world deserves, but it's equally important to ensure that the healthcare delivered is of high quality and bears the seal of the highest standards of patient safety. The essence of patient safety is very simple. It's keeping the patient protected from unnecessary harm or potential harm associated with healthcare. You all think that healthcare actually cures, but in some cases when we don't do it right or we're not putting everything together, when it doesn't come together correctly, as Naresh clearly explained, it can create harm, and that's what we're not here to do. We actually need to be very conscious all the time. So world over, safety standards have become a key priority, and rightfully so. The entire fraternity must move towards the industry equilibrium, where safety is omnipresent, intrinsic to the entire healthcare delivery spectrum. The focus on safety is not new. Patient safety was one of the tenets of the Hippocratic Oath, and there's been steady progress in the mission to provide safer healthcare through the centuries. Today, we're at the tipping point of in this march. Technology and cross-industry learning has helped to create a body of best practices that have helped take patient safety to the next level. Alongside, it's worthwhile for me to mention that we live in an empowered society with an all-pervasive social media and very vocal consumers. While every industry is impacted to some extent with this phenomenon, in healthcare, it's critical, as trust is the most precious asset that we have and in delivering healthcare. Healthcare organizations now have to deal with the challenges that either build or corrode this trust. Rising up to this challenge needs systemic changes. Patient safety improvements demand a complex sector-wide effort involving a wide range of actions in performance improvement, environmental safety, and risk management. These include infection control, the safe use of medicines, equipment safety, and safe clinical practice and safe environment care, as Naresh clearly showed you in his slides. A culture of zero tolerance to error is the foundation of better healthcare delivery. Building a culture of safety is a lot like building a culture of excellence. It begins with introspection and assigning accountability. Leaders must facilitate a culture of trust that encourages communication across clinical disciplines about such issues as the causes of medical error and non-punitive approaches to reporting. I think that's very important, that maybe, we really have in our hospitals, all the best institutions acknowledge that errors can happen, and it's important when you can stand up and how you address it. And I think that's part of your safety journey, is to be non-punitive and allow people to report. And that's what the best hospitals all over the world do. Apollo Hospitals has been a pioneer in investing in the right culture to foster excellence and nurture the highest benchmarks of safety. We've implemented standardized patient safety processes across hospitals under the initiatives, the Apollo Standards of Clinical Care. That's our own internal that we benchmark across our 60-odd hospitals. It covers outcome measurements, adverse event reporting, standardized mortality reviews, safe surgery, ICU checklists, the metrics to define success, and transparency and open disclosure form the basis of these initiatives. The balanced scorecards we use, like ACE at 25, incorporate 25 clinical quality parameters, benchmarking them against the world's best institutions. We take Mayo, we take Cleveland Clinic, we use Hopkins, Mass General. We take their standards and benchmark all these. So this is apart from the accreditations we have, that we have our own internal benchmarks. The primary purpose is to reduce readmission rates post-treatment and minimize mortality rates across centers of excellence. We strive to exceed these patient safety measures, and a few of them, I think that you had spoken about the beds. So we have less than 3 patient falls per 1,000 patient days, less than 2 medication errors per 100 discharges. I watched an Oprah show once, and she actually said in the US, every day, one 747, equivalent of a 747 people, have complications because of medical errors with this. And that's huge. So I think that puts it in some kind of a perspective. And we have less than 2 surgical site infections per 100 surgeries. The other area that Apollo Hospitals has always invested in is technology, be it cutting edge like you've seen here, and building a robust digital backbone. These have been game changers. And what happens in healthcare technology can actually, it can change lives, but in our instance, it can save lives. And this innovation won't just make healthcare smarter, but it makes it safer. And I think the intervention of robots and that we see typically, what it does is that it makes the average surgeon a Naresh Rehan. With that, it just makes, it just takes you to the highest of standards. So quality and safety standards must transcend just the service aspect of healthcare and embrace the product side too. Medical devices are a crucial link in the healthcare delivery chain, and any healthcare safety plan must take this into account. The term medical device, of course, includes all the products, and then medicines are another huge realm that we work with. So in this, we have to start converging and seeing what we need, the safety standards, the regulations. In India, it's easy for us. In many of our hospitals, we follow the world standards. We have the ISI mark. But we should move towards a great regulatory framework which encourages hospitals to use medicines of the highest quality. I do believe in generics. I do believe in the price advantage that we should do for our industry. But I don't believe in doing it at the cost of even one patient life. Exactly as Naresh has said, every patient to you is treated like your relative. It doesn't matter what their economic strata is. And if we really want India to be the highest, on the highest pinnacle, on world standard healthcare, we cannot make those compromises with this. So whatever we encourage in terms of the devices, in terms of the pharmaceuticals, I really like the fact that India, right at the beginning, has allowed the best to come into India with that. And we should continue to do that. We should encourage that and encourage them. Like GE today makes the finest of X-rays in India, ultrasounds to export to the rest of the world. They're even making CT scans. And I think this is the journey that in quality that we should never give up on. The medical device, it's a $350 billion in global industry. And India accounts only for $5 billion today, but this will change. And I think as we keep growing our medical industry, our healthcare industry, this will increase. The Make in India will be a massive shot. I do agree, and I think that it's a great initiative, but we need to do it with the highest of quality and not compromise on that. For instance, let me give you some examples that we have within. We have something called HIPAA, and that is the Healthcare India Pharmaceutical Registry. We developed it in-house, and it's a tool to reduce medication errors in a real-world scenario, made in India for India. The software has been catching and preventing more than 5 severe drug reactions and more than 10 therapeutic duplications every week. And we've done over 33 million medicine prescriptions just in the past 2 years. That's 33 million in the last 2 years. And how about another great innovation is the eICU. Today, I think the toughest thing is for us to be able to get quality standards across geographies, especially in the rural areas. And what the eICU does is that we can get the specialists, so whether it's teleradiology, EICUs, you can get specialists sitting at one corner to actually deliver the safest of standards in the toughest of locations. And I think that's what technology will bring to us, that's what the devices will do. Personalized medicine, I would like to just touch on that one. I think that's the next frontier. When people, will start using safe personalized medicine, because there's some medicines that don't work for you. So when you do when we do medicine testing based on genomics, you can actually see what works for the patient, what doesn't. And I think all this is part of the quality journey, the high end with this, but India recognizes this. We are on the cutting edge of all of these. So in my long years of healthcare, I've seen several groundbreaking milestones, but the most significant of this has been the quality standards, what Naresh's last slide was about. The first is JCI. JCI was actually, the US standard. And most hospitals in the US are accredited with JCI. It is the highest standard. So they have, in the international, out of the 27, 9 of those hospitals are Apollo. And then we all realized collectively that it's very expensive. And that's why we worked with, to do the Indian standard. One is it's expensive also because India has its own this thing. So we should have our own standard. Some of those were not applicable. And that's the NABH. So I think that 337 hospitals is truly a small number. We would work, and I think that's where the government should focus. So where we don't over-regulate, but since we have a great standard, we push to make sure those are it. And those should be, to drive patients, they need more awareness. So that's why such a forum is important. That actually this is to reach out to the patient to say, this is important. Look for a hospital that can provide that. Don't think that just you can do open heart in any, nowadays you can set up a 25,000 square foot facility and do an open heart. But then when you have people like, they should understand, in your video, Dr. Ashok Seth, when he spoke, don't compromise on the standards. I really agree with that. And I think that it's only when we get that message out that everyone will start thinking about this. And that's where the real journey starts. So I congratulate you all again. And I think that the more we can do. At our last patient safety conference, we had 2,000 delegates. They're coming in from Asia. So the first steps have already been taken, and we will move towards that. And safety is like an iceberg. And only a small part of it is above the surface. There's so much that's below.